film. So tell us how you had to sort of change to a new role and working with him on a second film like this, and what that took for you.
It's actually I think I've now done 7 movies with James. And this is the second Faulkner. I'm not unique in recidivism with James. He likes to hire the same folks. Brady here and here's my hero, James Franco.
Thanks for sticking around.
And I mean, James has heard me say this many times, but he changed my life. I've been in many, many movies and worked with many, many directors. But James, for all of us in this cast, because you have Anna O'Reilly and Logan Marshall Green and Jim Perrick and Brady here, we all did As I Lay Dying together, and Scott Hayes, I don't want to leave him out, who played Jason. And for me, having done so many movies, and particularly a lot of studio movies, and reaching a time in my life where I have this wonderful wife who's here with me tonight, and 3 children, and life had become very nice and safe, and I kind of looked out into my future with 2 or 3 more decades of getting to play lots of different roles. And then James called, and he reignited for me a belief in the purity of storytelling, and a belief in the importance of challenging yourself, and the importance of putting it on the line and not becoming complacent. And that's the beauty of James and what he does, and it's why I'm so completely honored to get to work with him whenever I can. He has resuscitated a belief in storytelling for so many of us, and this movie is, with all the chances it takes, and with how he puts himself on the line both as a filmmaker and an actor, he's really an exemplar of how you live a life, a creative life, and that's what it means to me.
Thank you, Tim. James, before I open up to the audience, I wanted to ask you, this is your second feature that you've adapted from Faulkner.
Yeah.
And we also played As I Lay Dying last year, so if you want to address both and the challenges of adapting such dense work.
Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, this is a great place to talk about it. I'm just going to assume that there's more people in this audience that have read the books that the movies are based on than in my other audiences. I'm just going to make that assumption, but I don't know. I went to Dublin once and I asked, oh, what do you guys think of Ulysses, the book? And we don't read that. So I don't know. Maybe nobody here reads Faulkner anymore, but I'm going to assume that everybody does. And let's see, I've been acting for almost 20 years as a professional, and I went to film school. I've been directing movies for almost 10 years, but I went to film school started about 5 or 6 years ago at NYU, and I'd already been, working in professional film for a long time at that point, and I'd even directed a few movies before film school, and but once I got to film school, I realized, sort of like Tim was talking about, I had a similar moment for myself where they would give us assignments, and I suddenly was asking myself, well, now's my chance to make the movies that I want to make. What do I want to make? As an actor, I've been in the Spider-Man films, which at the time were the biggest, box office openings ever in history. I've been in movies that have won Oscars. I've been in horrible movies, and so so now that I get to kind of decide what I'm going to make, what do I want to make? And there was certain short films I made based on poems, and then that led me to, that kind of opened up the idea that, oh, you can just do the things that you love. Like, if you're in control of it, like, you can just make what you want, how you want to make it, if you do it right. You know, you have to kind of navigate certain things, and if you want to, you know, make more than one of them, you have to kind of be responsible about how you make it, so that, you know, you make at least some of the money back, so that you can then do it again. But I just thought, you know, if I could do anything, why not do Faulkner? This is some, you know, he's been my guy since I was in high school. I think one of the other things too that kind of opened up the possibility of doing Faulkner was, I had read in a oral biography of Sean Penn, I don't know how true this is or not, but that he had once wanted to do As I Lay Dying with Jack Nicholson as the dad ants that Tim eventually played, and he would be Darl, I think, and he would have directed it. And that had long since not happened, but I thought, oh, the book that everyone said is like impossible to adapt, actually somebody was thinking about doing it. Yeah, why not? Why not figure that out? And so, like I said in the intro, you know, one of the things with Faulkner, because there had been a adaptation of Sound and the Fury before, you know, which, you know, had good actors in it and all of that, but one thing they definitely did not do, I don't know why, but they definitely did not try to take on the style and the structure of the book. And with both of the films, I thought, if I'm going to take on Faulkner, it's, you know, it's not enough to just tell the narrative. That, you know, if I just told the narrative of As I Lay Dying without the style, it would just be, okay, a family takes the mother to be buried in town, and, you know, some weird things happen along the way, but basically that's it. And Sound of the Fury is like a family melodrama, I guess, you know, without the style, you know. And so I thought, if I'm going to adapt Faulkner, I have to adapt the style and the structure. And as a filmmaker, that was so exciting, because it, you know, it pushed me to make a film in a way that I wouldn't have done if otherwise, you know, and it made me find solutions that that pulled me in new directions as a filmmaker, you know, just with how this was shot and structured and everything. And that's why I love Faulkner, why I think I'll, you know, I hope to do more, because I think that's exciting. I mean, that's why I want to, you know, that's one of the reasons I want to direct and not just act. It's like, why not try and push the medium and see where else it can go, and make and have the, and to go back to what I was saying before, what are the movies I want to make and why? Well, these are the movies I want to make, and it's not necessarily for, you know, box office, you know, records, and it's not for even for the critics. It's really to honor the spirit of the book and the spirit of Faulkner's work, and that is really my guide when I make these movies. It's like, all right, are we honoring Faulkner? Are we telling his story in a way that hopefully he would respect, at least respect the intention?
Thank you. I want to introduce, thanks to the weather, we had one of our filmmakers wasn't able to get here until the end, so I want to introduce the producer of the film, Lee Caplin. Dan called me out early for not being here. After we're done with the Q&A, he has a special tribute to a local that we just lost this week, Tom Freeland, and we're very proud to have Joyce in the audience with us, so please do stick around. I'm going to open it up to the audience now if anyone has a question. Yes. All the way in the back, the guy raising his hand. Yes.
You wish the movie would have been longer?
Why do you say that?
Just, I don't know.
Oh.
Having you read the book.
Oh, I mean, we had more. We had definitely more. We had more material that we shot. Yeah, we shot a lot. You know, a movie is a time-based thing, and a book is not. And so one of the things that I found when you know adapting stories from novels into movies is that you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of the time factor. Now, that's not to say that, you know, it really hurts when I have to cut out things that I love, and I think it was Faulkner himself who said you have to kill your darlings, meaning, you know, when you're editing something, you have to kill some of your favorite things just to make the, whatever it is you're doing work. So we definitely had to kill some darlings, but, you know, I knew that we're already going to be pushing certain conventions, movie-making conventions with the way that this was told, that one of the things, you know, when I said balance and, you know, balance things out, like, that's one of the things that I'm trying to balance, like pushing form and pushing structure and pushing, you know, convention, but I also want to balance that out and still make a movie that has some tension to it, has some drive to it, and so that at least some people will watch it.
I want to ask Matthew a question. We have a lot of great actors from Mississippi. Tell us how you went about the process of casting.
Well, the first time when we did...
This is our casting director. He cast both of the Faulkner films.
I'm very grateful for that.
He found me all these wonderful actors.
Well, the first time we did As I Lay Dying, we held an open call. You know, say James Franco, and a lot of folks showed up. Thank you, James. About 1,800 people did in 2 days, so I had a really amazing talent pool to sift through to try to find some amazing actors. And I think everyone here did an incredible job, some amazing performances in the film. I have to say a big thank you to all the moms and dads who stood in line, who waited in the sun to let their child come in and stay captive with me. And you know, you just look for people that are grateful to be there, that have a spark, something special, that take direction well. And we had a lot of fantastic kids, so I'm very proud of all of you.
Questions from the audience? Mom.
Hi, I'm Melanie Mom. I'm honored to have you here in town. But I wanted to know, would you be up to maybe remaking Intruder in the Dutch?
Oh. Well, I mean, I love all the Faulkner books. We have a couple that were that are on deck, but maybe Intruder in the Dust at some point. But I have a couple others that are, I don't know. I mean, I could talk about it. I guess Lee's here, so if I say it, I guess he's the one that would yank it if, you know. So
I'll hold you to it.
I think the next one I would want to do is the Hamlet, which is the first in the Snopes trilogy. It's been another favorite of mine for a long time. So look out for that, and look out for a lot of these actors maybe being in it, I hope.
That one up there.
I was just wondering why the last chapter from Billsie's point of view was not included in the movie. Maybe the thought process.
Yeah, the Dilsey section, I mean, there's a little bit of it in there, but it's truncated. And one of the things, you know, again, it sort of goes with that answer I gave before. You know, one of the things you find when you adapt is, you know, you go into a project like this, or we went into a project like this, and our intention was to honor at least the spirit of the book, and in a lot of ways try to honor the structure and the style of the book. That being said, once, you know, and then there are certainly adaptations that don't have that intention. You know, they say, well, we're using this subject, we're using this book, but we're going to veer far from it. You know, and there are, and some great movies are made that way, but this one was made, you know, to honor the book. But at a certain point, you have to kind of let it go, or it becomes a, kind of a school project. It becomes something, it becomes more academic than anything. And so we just found that, we shot a lot more of the Josie section, and we just found at that point in the movie that the audience was having an emotional release when, young Quentin, Miss Quentin escaped. That was sort of the emotional ending of the movie. But I was still sort of hung up because I thought, wow, Miss Quentin isn't, she's one of our heroes, but she's not exactly our central hero. And so I still didn't want to go out on Miss Quentin. And so we had many different versions of the truncated fourth section, and we're trying to balance a lot of things and, give that sort of, it's supposed to be Easter Sunday, and give that sort of ending for Benji and Jason and everyone, while still kind of not losing the audience emotionally. And that's sort of the trick of filmmaking and working in a time-based medium rather than a novel.
The other person who had a question right up there. Yep, that's you.
What was the most enamoring part about the younger actors that really enthralled you and made you choose them? And what enthralled you to choose them?
Well, I'll say something about them, and then maybe I'll let each of them say something too. They can talk about their experiences. So I'd worked with Brady before. He was in As I Lay Dying. He played the youngest of the sons. So I knew Brady and loved working with him. He was incredible in As I Lay Dying, and I knew I wanted him in this movie. And then all of these fellows and ladies came in and just kind of nailed it. I would say he was like the opposite of his character, and he pulled off an incredible performance, because when the cameras were rolling, I couldn't get him to sit still, but when the cameras rolled, somehow we got him to, and he did a great job. And they were all great to work with, but I'm gonna let them say one thing about their experience or their character or whatever they want to say. How was your day making out with Jacob?
Great. Always great whenever you called in for a makeout scene.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
I would have to say that my favorite part personally was, this is only my second film, so I'm not used to this stuff, but so this is my first film with other younger actors, because my first one was also with James. It was As I Lay Dying, and I was the only kid. I was the youngest of family, so. But professionally, it was just cool being able to come back and work with the people that I worked with on As I Lay Dying. I don't know what there is to say. It was a lot of
fun. The Sound and Fury was the first experience that I ever had, because it was the first film I ever been in. And it was amazing and shocking, because I never knew what it was to work with people. And it was great, because I like acting.
I don't know what to say.
What about when you fell down? What about when me and your dad tried to get you under control? What were you thinking about when you were working with me?
It was fun.
What do you think about when you were working with her?
It was fun.
It was fun.
loved everything, but I would have to say my favorite part was working with all these incredible actors. And when I first met James Franco, I was like, oh, hi, how you doing? Then I looked at him more closely and I was like, oh my gosh! Everything was really fun.
Yeah, this is my first film. I would have to say my favorite part about the experience was working with these talented kids. I was around them the whole day, and it made me feel like it was a family. So I'd say working with the kids.
I would have to say that the whole experience in general, like never doing it before and like doing it with such amazing people, and like it was just an amazing experience and it was so much fun.
I'd like to ask Lee a question about the importance of getting Faulkner's work back on film and your role and what you've been doing to make that happen.
Well, about 6 or 8 years ago, James and I met at lunch, and he was half hour late. And that's the only time he's ever been late. He's on the set before anybody else. And
I think I couldn't find the place. It was some weird little restaurant at the Santa Monica Airport.
It's a greasy spoon. But when I was interviewed, I don't think it's on. When I was interviewed for a documentary on James, which is going to come out before too long, and they asked me to say the one word that describes him best, and I used the word fearless. And the reason I use the word fearless is because James is not precious about what he does. He has a reverence for this work, and I found that out the day that I met him, and that was important to me. It was important to the Faulkner family. And I have never been on a set where I have seen so many people so enthusiastic about the underlying work. I think there were probably 25 copies of the work at each of the 2 films we've done together, and I expect the same in the future. Even the gaffer and the best boy and the drip were underlining passages and putting little Post-its on it of things that meant something to them. And James carried that spirit from start to finish. He was the first one on the set, the last one to leave. He'd fly out on the end of our weekday and go teach 5 classes on the other side of the country, and then he'd be back before anybody else on the first day of photography of the following week. And I literally felt my age trying to keep up with him. But he understands the work, which was most important. He's not about making a Hollywood movie, which is most important. And to answer some of the questions that you said earlier, he does follow the spirit and the structure of the book. Unfortunately, it is an entertainment, and as an entertainment, it's got to be somewhere between 90 and 120 minutes, which is a heartbreaker when you've got to cut some scenes. And some of those scenes that they cut, As They Lay Dying, and the others were amazing. And I think if we ever have the money to produce the director's cut, we'll put it back in, or maybe we'll have an Easter egg that you can find that scene.
Another question from the audience. Yes, right here.
I guess this goes to either Lee or Franco. What would you think Faulkner would think of the film?
Lee, truthfully, there are a few of us in this room that actually knew him. I'm one of the lucky ones, and I can say that he would love to have known this young man. He would have really been thrilled to know him. When he was asked, and maybe you said it before, so forgive me, what is The Sound of the Fury about? He, with a bunch of intellectuals in the room, said it was just about a little girl who fell down and muddied her drawers. And that's a pretty deep statement. And James gets it. So thank goodness for him, and I'm looking forward to the Hamlet, and the Bear, and maybe even a Intruder. Who knows? I pushed him on that Intruder to answer your question. But he knows what he wants to do, and that's what he's going to do.
Another question. Yes, right here.
Y'all are lovers of Faulkner. We are teachers of Faulkner. So what advice?
She can show the movies. What do you hate about this?
What advice do you have for high school teachers to parlay to high school students? How did you get involved with your love of Faulkner as well?
So weird. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble when I was in high school, and when I wasn't allowed to go out. I think by the law even, like I was supposed to. And my dad gave me As I Lay Dying and said, There's this great scene in there where they go across this river and the mules get washed down, and it's just the description is amazing, and check it out. And for whatever reason, I was hooked. I guess I was already into literature to a certain extent, but this was sort of my first brush with very serious, difficult literature, and I just remember falling in love with it. My friends were out that weekend getting crazy like I would have been if I wasn't in trouble, and instead I spent the whole weekend just reading that book, and then I know I did the same with Sound and the Fury. It took a few times, with Sound and the Fury, and before the internet, just reading the Cliff Notes, like, all right, what time period are we in here? What's going on here? Just to really kind of understand every bit of it. And then later, I remember I was on this movie I hated, and my kneecap came loose, so I spent 2 weeks in a bed in Prague, and I just went. That's when I read through everything, like all the Snopes trilogy and everything. Requiem for a Nun, like all the history of Yoknapatawpha County and all that stuff. But I don't know what to say to high school students other than this is beautiful. Like, novels are a beautiful art form, and this is like the pinnacle of the form. And like anything, it takes some work to appreciate the best, some of the best examples of any form, but maybe the movies will help. I don't know. Tell them if they read it, I'll come in and talk to the class.
On Instagram, so it's definitely. Well, 2 more questions. Way up top, the guy right there. Yeah.
What was it like playing a character who didn't speak?
What was it like playing a character who didn't speak? I played Benji for a lot of reasons. One of them is that I did like the idea that I wouldn't have to speak. That I've found that I love behavior. Like I'm a guy who as an actor and as a director loves behavior, and maybe that's just because of the way I was taught. I'm a huge fan of literature, and I love words and all this, but I guess as an actor at a young age I was taught the behavior is the thing. Like, behavior is key, and once you get the behavior, the words will ride on top of that. That's just what I was taught. There's all different schools of thought, and I don't know even if I ascribe to that anymore, but I think it ingrained something in me. And so the chance to play a character that's all behavior and needs to express himself through that alone was a really kind of attractive challenge for me. I also thought this is one of the most famous characters in American literature. This is a character who is mentally challenged, but he's also kind of, I don't even know, if Faulkner based this on a real person or not, if he was accurate or not. But my intention was just to capture what I saw in the book, what I read in the book, and that was it. And I thought, well, if any of the characters are going to get, flack, prejudiced flack, it's going to be that one. And so I'll just kind of take that on for everyone and just, take the fall on the grenade if there is any,
All right, one more question, Ronzo.
Well, I really liked it a lot. I really respect that you did it. But if you love literature so much, why would you even attempt to change the farm? If you talk about how much you love literature, and why not just leave it as it is, as a book?
That's kind of that attitude just does not make any sense to me. There are great works of art that I love, and I just think, yeah, that probably shouldn't be turned into a movie, or maybe somebody else can do it, but I'm certainly not the one to do it. But I view it as a dialogue, or a kind of way to engage with something that I think is great. And it will never, what you suggest is like saying like, well, don't mess with it, it's already great. Well, I'm not taking away from the novel. The novel's there, it will always be there. And whatever I do, like even if I made the biggest steaming pile ever, it would never touch the novel, it would never hurt the novel. So, that attitude just doesn't make sense to me. And especially because I'm somebody who usually adapts stuff. And so if I only adapted stuff that I thought was not great, then I just always be adapting bad things, So I have to, engage with the things that I revere. It makes me better. It makes me strive to be better. And so that's why.